Hiya. So I discussed in the last couple of updates that I've slowly been moving from Modo to Blender, mainly because I've been convinced by Auto-Rig Pro. So this month I've actually retargeted all of the animations in the player character and done the move properly. This stuff's voodoo to me, and I've got to be honest, I really wasn't expecting it to work, but it was pretty straightforward. Once you've got your skeleton into UE, you can go to the Retarget manager, select a rig type, and then get the source and target bone names matching up. This was a little bit fiddly for the Modo model, as I was using less bones in the spine than UE actually wants, so it took me a couple of attempts to get the correct root nodes and the correct names lining up, but Auto-Rig Pro's rig just mapped straight into it. It was trivial. With that stuff in place, right click on the anim blueprint, go to duplicate anim and retarget, and Bob's your uncle, literally. It was pretty much fire and forget for me. I had to redo some of the montages, I had to double check some of the anim notifiers were in place, but yeah, that was literally it. So that's not scary anymore. Hurrah, retarget all the things. Once the character was updated, then I had a look at the cloth stuff. I could have animated this, but I kind of just wanted the physics simulation thing because it would look a little bit real and it would be a bit easier. And again, it's not actually that hard to get going, but there's a whole panel of magic numbers and you're sort of on your own trying to work out what they do. I spent, an afternoon on this trying to get something good looking, and it's fiddly. Tweaking of the physics asset, the cloth setup, the vert weights all at the same time, and the undo is not great. One thing that will probably help is the content examples project. There are a bunch of different material examples in here, and it makes a little bit more sense of the magic numbers. I basically copied a setup from that, used it as a base, and then tweaked it until I got something right. It was the fastest path for me, worth a look anyway. The rest of the month has been focused on gameplay changes. One thing that's annoyed me up to now is how the sword interactions worked. My first pass was just to do a solitary sphere check in front of the player, but obviously this doesn't map onto the animation. Everything that's in the sphere reacts at once. It's minor, but I didn't like it, so I've changed that to sweep in an arc that's roughly in step with the sword. It's a tiny thing, but it does look and feel so much better to me, so I think that was worth it. I've also added in a spin attack. This is charged by holding down the attack button, and if you release it after the notification effects play, then you get the attack. It's the basic Zelda spin attack thing. Again, sword interaction's done in a similar way. The arc is sweeped roughly in line with the animation. It's not super close. But it works. It's pretty cool. I quite like it. I've also set up some big props that you can only destroy with the spin attack, so it will actually, have specific uses in game. I've also changed all the prop sword interactions to use UE4's damage type system. Honestly, I must have been on crack when I started doing this. I've known about it since the FPS game I was working on, but for whatever reason this grew arms and legs and there was loads of little, specific interaction checks dotted around. So I've refactored all of it. I really like UE4's damage system. It gives you a lot of flexibility in how you can react to things and keeps the code nice and clean. So it was a big job, it needed doing. It's a day of my life that I'm never getting back. But once that was in place, I could then do my version of the hook shot, which I'm calling the sticky mitt. It also uses the damage system, so things like switches and coins, rupees, they can choose to react. Enemies, chests, other stuff, they can choose to ignore it. And as you'd expect, mine relocates the player as well, so it will help you get around the level. You'll notice that I've demoed a lot of this stuff today in the new map. I've finally got around to making a little test dojo, so this is outside of the main game, and it's specifically just so I can test individual things that I'm working on and also make sure that the big changes, like the refactoring that I've been doing this month, hasn't broken something else along the way. So you'll see this a little bit more often in the future. There'll basically end up being one of everything in this map that I can run around and just interact with and test. It's really useful. Again, it's something that I've been meaning to do for ages and just haven't got around to. Internally, it acts like a little dungeon room, so all of the code interfaces that I've built, they all work. It pretends that it's a real part of the game, even though it's not. So yeah, a lot's been done under the hood. I've written up a load of it on my blog, so things are progressing well. With the exception of a nasty crash bug, this has been a good month, so I'm going to tidy up some bits and pieces that I've got at the minute, and the next big focus is a timeline, getting quests into the game and integrating the first sort of hour of gameplay together, so I've got a vertical slice. So I'll talk about that more in the next vlog. Thanks for watching. Bye.